Bernie had always been fascinated by cemeteries. There was something mysterious and haunting about them that drew him in. He loved to wander among the tombstones, reading the names and imagining the stories behind them. But little did he know that his fascination would lead him down a path he could never have imagined. One misty evening, Bernie found himself standing at the gates of Oakwood Cemetery, an old graveyard that was said to be haunted. The stories surrounding the cemetery were filled with tales of restless spirits and unexplained phenomena. Intrigued, Bernie decided to explore the grounds and see if there was any truth to the legends. As he walked through the rows of tombstones, Bernie couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. Shadows danced among the trees, and the silence was broken only by the sound of his own footsteps. Suddenly, a chill ran down his spine, and he felt a presence behind him. He turned around but found nothing there. Brushing it off as his imagination, he continued his exploration. The further Bernie ventured into the cemetery, the more he felt a strange energy enveloping him. It was as if the air itself was heavy with sorrow and despair. He stumbled upon an old mausoleum tucked away in a corner of the graveyard. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit chamber. Curiosity getting the better of him, Bernie cautiously stepped inside. The air inside the mausoleum was icy cold, and a musty smell hung in the air. Bernie's footsteps echoed as he made his way deeper into the chamber. Suddenly, he heard a faint whisper. He strained his ears to listen, but couldn't make out the words. Fear crept up his spine, but his curiosity urged him on. Just as Bernie was about to give up and leave, a gust of wind blew through the mausoleum, extinguishing his flashlight. In the darkness, he felt a cold hand graze his arm. He froze, his heart pounding in his chest. A voice, filled with sorrow and anguish, whispered in his ear, "Help me." Bernie's heart raced as the chilling voice echoed in his ears. The darkness seemed to close in around him, and he could feel a presence lingering in the shadows. Overwhelmed by fear, he fumbled in his pocket, searching for his lighter. With trembling hands, he managed to find it and flicked it open, casting a feeble glow around the mausoleum. As the flickering flame illuminated the chamber, Bernie's eyes widened in horror. The walls were adorned with faded photographs of people, their eyes hollow and haunting. He realized that these were the portraits of the deceased, a macabre memorial to the souls laid to rest within the mausoleum. The whispered plea for help echoed again, resonating with a desperate urgency. Driven by a mix of fear and compassion, Bernie mustered his courage and called out into the darkness. "Who's there? How can I help you?" The air grew still, and the silence hung heavy. Just as he was about to give up hope, a frail voice whispered, "Find the locket." Confused yet determined, Bernie scoured the room, his lighter guiding him as he searched for a hidden locket. Among the dusty relics, he discovered a small chest, locked tightly. With trembling hands, he picked the lock and opened it, revealing a delicate locket. The locket's surface was tarnished, but as Bernie held it in his hands, he felt a surge of energy pass through him. Opening it carefully, he found a faded photograph of a young woman. Her sorrowful eyes seemed to pierce his soul. As he studied the photograph, a name whispered in his mind, Evelyn. Without hesitation, Bernie decided to investigate further. He ventured out of the mausoleum, still clutching the locket tightly. His research led him to the local library, where he pored over old records and newspaper archives. It was there he discovered the tragic story of Evelyn, a young woman who had mysteriously disappeared over a century ago. Evelyn was known to be a talented artist who had fallen in love with a musician named Daniel. Their love was forbidden, as Daniel belonged to a wealthy family who disapproved of their relationship. The couple had planned to elope and start a new life together, but Evelyn vanished on the night they were set to escape. The newspapers of the time were filled with speculation and theories, but Evelyn's fate remained a haunting mystery. Bernie's heart ached for the young woman, and he vowed to bring her story to light. Armed with the knowledge of Evelyn's story, Bernie delved deeper into the history of Oakwood Cemetery. He discovered that the mausoleum he had entered was built by Evelyn's grief-stricken family as a final resting place for her, even though her body was never found. The rumors of hauntings and restless spirits surrounding the cemetery seemed to be tied to Evelyn's unresolved disappearance. Driven by a desire to bring peace to Evelyn's soul, Bernie set out on a mission to uncover the truth and give her the closure she deserved. He visited the local historical society, seeking any additional information that might shed light on her mysterious disappearance. After countless hours of research, he stumbled upon a long-forgotten diary belonging to Evelyn's sister, Abigail. In the diary, Abigail detailed her suspicions about Daniel's involvement in Evelyn's vanishing. She wrote of overhearing a heated argument between Evelyn and Daniel on that fateful night, just before Evelyn vanished without a trace. Abigail had kept this secret buried deep within her, fearing the repercussions it could have on Daniel and her family's reputation. Bernie's heart raced as he realized the significance of this revelation. He had to confront Daniel, who was now an elderly man living in seclusion. With the locket and diary in hand, Bernie mustered the courage to visit Daniel's estate, hoping to find answers. The estate, once grand, now lay in ruins, its walls echoing with the ghosts of the past. Bernie cautiously entered the dilapidated mansion, following the sound of haunting melodies that drifted through the empty halls. He found Daniel in a dimly lit room, sitting by a grand piano, his fingers delicately caressing the keys. Startled by Bernie's presence, Daniel turned, his eyes filled with a mix of surprise and guilt. Bernie presented the locket and Abigail's diary, revealing the secrets that had remained hidden for decades. The weight of the truth seemed to break Daniel's spirit as he confessed to the tragic events of that night so long ago. Daniel tearfully revealed that he had been consumed by jealousy and anger when Evelyn had chosen to leave everything behind for him. In a fit of rage, their argument escalated, leading to a tragic accident. Filled with remorse and unable to bear the consequences, Daniel concealed Evelyn's body and allowed the world to believe she had vanished. Bernie listened, his heart heavy with sorrow for the lost souls and the pain they had endured. He urged Daniel to come forward, to finally give Evelyn the proper burial and bring closure to her family. Daniel, overwhelmed by guilt and regret, agreed to confess his dark secret to the authorities. As news of the long-awaited revelation spread, the town embraced the truth with a mixture of relief and sadness. Evelyn's remains were finally laid to rest within the mausoleum, alongside her family, bringing peace to their tormented spirits. Bernie's journey through Oakwood Cemetery had been one of discovery, redemption, and the pursuit of justice. Although his fascination with cemeteries had initially led him to a haunting encounter, it ultimately allowed him to uncover a hidden chapter of history and grant solace to a restless soul. And as Bernie stood by Evelyn's tombstone, he felt a sense of peace and closure. The spirits of Oakwood Cemetery seemed to whisper their gratitude, their voices fading away into the eternal silence of the graveyard. Sandy's heart pounded as she stood at the entrance of the cemetery. The wrought iron gates creaked in the wind, casting eerie shadows on the gravestones that stretched out before her. She had always been intrigued by cemeteries, drawn to their quiet solitude and the stories that lay beneath the moss-covered stones. Tonight, however, she felt a sense of unease she couldn't quite shake. It was a moonless night, and the only light came from a dim lamppost at the entrance. Sandy tightened the grip on her flashlight and took a deep breath. She had come here on a mission. Her best friend, Emma, had disappeared 2 weeks ago, and the only clue they had was a cryptic note left behind, mentioning the cemetery. Sandy's heart wrenched at the thought of Emma's smiling face. They had been inseparable since childhood, and the sudden disappearance had left Sandy frantic with worry. Determined to find her friend, Sandy had spent countless hours researching the history of the cemetery, hoping to uncover something that might lead her to Emma. As she cautiously stepped inside, Sandy's senses heightened. The air grew thick with an inexplicable chill, causing goosebumps to rise on her arms. The grave markers seemed to whisper secrets as she passed by, their faded inscriptions hinting at lives long gone. With each step, Sandy's flashlight illuminated the worn paths and the overgrown foliage. She followed a winding trail, guided by her research, until she reached a dilapidated mausoleum at the heart of the cemetery. The door, covered in vines, stood ajar. A flicker of fear coursed through her veins, but she pressed forward. Inside, the darkness swallowed her light, making her beam useless. She strained her ears, hoping to hear any sign of life. A soft rustling sound reached her, causing her heart to skip a beat. "Sandy," a faint voice called out, sending shivers down her spine. She recognized the voice instantly. It was Emma's. Sandy followed the voice, navigating the maze-like hallways of the mausoleum. The air grew colder, and an overwhelming sense of dread settled in her chest. Finally, she reached a small chamber, and there, huddled in a corner, was Emma. "Emma! Oh my God, Emma! I found you!" Sandy exclaimed, rushing to her friend's side. Emma's face was pale, and her eyes were wide with fear. "Sandy, get out of here. It's not safe." Emma gasped, her voice trembling. Confusion and concern clouded Sandy's mind. "What do you mean? We need to get you out of here." Emma's eyes darted around the room, fear etched on her face. "It's the spirits, Sandy. They're angry, and they won't let me leave. They want something, and if we don't give it to them, we'll never escape." Sandy's heart sank as the weight of Emma's words settled on her shoulders. She had always been skeptical of the supernatural, but the eerie atmosphere and Emma's desperate pleas made her reconsider. "What do they want?" Sandy asked, her voice quivering. Emma's gaze fell on a dusty old book lying on the floor nearby. "There's a ritual we can perform. It might appease them and free us from this place. But we have to be careful. If we fail, they'll trap us here forever." As Emma explained the steps of the ritual, Sandy listened intently, her determination growing with each word. She knew she had to save her friend, even if it meant facing the unknown. Sandy's hands trembled as she picked up the ancient book, its pages yellowed with age. The instructions seemed complex, involving rare herbs, cryptic symbols, and a specific sequence of actions. Doubt and fear battled within her, but the thought of losing Emma gave her the strength to push forward. With Emma's guidance, Sandy gathered the necessary ingredients from the mausoleum's forgotten shelves and hidden compartments. They worked swiftly, their every move cautious and deliberate, aware of the lurking spirits that watched them from the shadows. As the ritual progressed, an otherworldly energy filled the chamber, intensifying the eerie ambience. The air crackled with an unseen force, and the temperature dropped even further. Sandy's pulse quickened, but she refused to succumb to the rising panic. They reached the final step of the ritual, a series of incantations in a language neither of them understood. With a mixture of trepidation and hope, they chanted the words, their voices rising and falling in unison. The air thickened with anticipation. Suddenly, the chamber shook, and the walls groaned as if burdened by the weight of the spirit's presence. The flickering candles cast eerie shadows on the walls, dancing in an otherworldly rhythm. Sandy's heart raced as she wondered if they had succeeded or only angered the spirits further. Then, as if on cue, the room fell silent. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the once pale faces of the friends were bathed in a warm golden light. They exchanged a hesitant smile, relief and gratitude washing over them. "We did it, Sandy. We did it," Emma exclaimed, tears streaming down her cheeks. Sandy could hardly believe they had escaped the clutches of the restless spirits. They cautiously left the chamber, feeling a renewed sense of freedom. The mausoleum, once a foreboding labyrinth, now felt like a sanctuary as they made their way back into the moonlit cemetery. However, as they walked past the rows of gravestones, a peculiar sensation tugged at Sandy's senses. She turned to Emma, a furrow forming on her brow. "Emma, do you feel that? Like we're being watched?" Emma's expression mirrored Sandy's unease. "I do. I thought it was just my imagination. But Their words trailed off as the moon emerged from behind a cloud, casting an ethereal glow on a particular gravestone. The name inscribed on it sent a shiver down Sandy's spine. It was her own. Fear gripped Sandy's heart once again, her mind racing to comprehend the impossible. She looked at Emma, searching for answers, but her friend's face held only confusion. Before they could react, the ground beneath them quivered, and a spectral figure emerged from the soil, its hollow eyes fixed upon them. The apparition emitted an anguished wail that echoed through the night, causing Sandy and Emma to freeze in terror. "This is not over," the spirit hissed, its voice a chilling whisper that seemed to come from within their minds. "You have awakened forces beyond your comprehension. We shall claim what is ours." As suddenly as it had appeared, the spirit dissolved into the darkness, leaving Sandy and Emma shaken and bewildered. The realization dawned upon them that their ordeal was far from over, that the cemetery held secrets more sinister than they could have ever imagined. Sandy and Emma stood frozen in the cemetery, their eyes locked on the spot where the spirit had vanished. The weight of the encounter hung heavily in the air, leaving them paralyzed with fear and uncertainty. What just happened?" Sandy whispered, her voice trembling. Emma's voice quivered as she replied, "I don't know, Sandy. But it seems like our actions have awakened something dark and vengeful. We're in deeper trouble than we thought." The once serene graveyard now seemed menacing, each gravestone casting elongated shadows that danced in the moonlight. Every rustle of the leaves and distant hoot of an owl sent shivers down their spines. They had unknowingly stepped into a realm where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred. A cold breeze whispered through the cemetery, carrying with it a haunting chant. Sandy and Emma exchanged a knowing glance and followed the eerie sound, their curiosity overcoming their fear. The chant led them to an ancient oak tree standing majestically amidst the graves. As they approached the tree, a faint glow emanated from its gnarled roots. Sandy's heart pounded in her chest, her mind consumed by questions. What lay beneath the surface? Why were they being drawn to this particular spot? With trepidation, Sandy and Emma knelt down and began to clear away the soil around the tree's roots. Their hands scraped against something solid, a weathered wooden box. Eagerly, they unearthed it, revealing a locked chest covered in symbols and intricate carvings. Emma's eyes widened with recognition. It's a relic, an ancient artifact that holds immense power. Legends say it was buried here centuries ago to protect it from falling into the wrong hands. Sandy's curiosity piqued. But why would the spirits want this artifact? And how does it connect to us? Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. "I think we unwittingly stumbled upon a battle between the spirits who guard this artifact and those who seek to use its power for their own dark purposes. By performing the ritual, we disrupted the delicate balance that held them at bay." The realization washed over Sandy, filling her with a mix of awe and dread. They had become entangled in a supernatural struggle that threatened not only their lives, but also the world beyond. Driven by a newfound determination, Sandy and Emma decided they had to find a way to restore the balance. They gathered their waning courage and embarked on a quest to unlock the secrets of the artifact and bring an end to the restless spirit's wrath. Through ancient tomes and cryptic riddles, they unraveled the truth. The artifact held the power to control life and death itself. Its misuse could unleash chaos upon the world, while its rightful protection would ensure harmony and peace. With each passing day, their understanding deepened, and they grew stronger. Sandy and Emma forged a bond with the spirits who once sought to harm them, recognizing their shared goal of preserving the delicate equilibrium. Armed with newfound knowledge and allies from both the realm of the living and the spirit world, Sandy and Emma prepared for a final confrontation. The fate of the artifact and the delicate balance of existence itself rested in their hands. As they stood on the precipice of the battle, Sandy looked at Emma, her eyes brimming with determination. "We will face whatever comes our way, Emma. We will ensure that the power of the artifact is protected and the spirits find peace." Emma nodded, her voice steady. We may have unwittingly set this chain of events in motion, but we also hold the power to restore balance. Together, we can make things right. And so, with a shared resolve and an unyielding spirit, Sandy and Emma stepped forward, ready to face the unknown and embrace their destiny. The cemetery would become the battleground where they would fight for the world they knew, their bond growing stronger with every step. The final chapter of their story was yet to be written, a tale of sacrifice, courage, and the enduring power of friendship against the backdrop of a cemetery teeming with secrets. Sandy and Emma entered the cemetery, their hearts resolute and their minds focused. The air crackled with an electric energy as they made their way to the heart of the graveyard, where the final confrontation awaited them. The moon bathed the cemetery in a pale glow, casting eerie shadows that danced among the gravestones. Whispers echoed through the night, carried by the wind that seemed to carry the weight of ancient secrets. The spirits stirred, their presence palpable, as if they were watching the unfolding events with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. As Sandy and Emma reached the designated spot, the ground trembled beneath their feet. A surge of ethereal energy swirled around them, manifesting into spectral forms that surrounded the area. These were the spirits, guardians of the artifact and keepers of the delicate balance. Sandy and Emma exchanged a brief glance, drawing strength from each other's unwavering determination. They stepped forward, their voices filled with conviction as they addressed the spirits. "We understand the grave mistake we've made," Sandy began, her voice steady. "But we seek to make amends. We stand before you not as adversaries, but as allies, united in the preservation of the artifact's power and the restoration of balance." Emma continued, her voice carrying the weight of sincerity. "We pledge to protect the artifact from those who would misuse its power, ensuring that it remains safeguarded. We seek your guidance and forgiveness as we embark on this noble mission." The spirits remained silent, their ethereal forms shimmering in the moonlight. Then a single figure stepped forward, a spirit with gentle eyes and a soft smile. It was the same spirit that had once warned them of the impending danger. "You have shown humility and a genuine desire to right your wrongs," the spirit said, its voice carrying a mix of wisdom and compassion. "We, the guardians, acknowledge your intent and offer you our guidance. Together, we shall ensure the artifact's protection and restore the harmony between the realms." Relief flooded Sandy and Emma's hearts, tears of gratitude welling in their eyes. They had earned the spirit's trust, their bond forged through perseverance and the recognition of their shared purpose. With the spirit's guidance, Sandy and Emma embarked on a quest to learn the ways of the artifact, its history, and the rituals required to protect it. They delved into ancient texts, sought the counsel of wise sages, and honed their own spiritual abilities. Months turned into years as they immersed themselves in their sacred duty. Sandy and Emma became formidable guardians, wielding both knowledge and inner strength. They forged a connection with the artifact, understanding its power and its potential to bring either chaos or peace. Through their efforts, they uncovered a hidden society, a secretive group known as the Order of Eternal Balance. This group had sought to exploit the artifact's power, hoping to manipulate life and death for their own gain. Sandy and Emma realized that their role extended beyond the cemetery. They were now at the forefront of a battle against a formidable adversary. Armed with the support of the spirits, Sandy and Emma confronted the Order, determined to thwart their plans and protect the artifact. The clash was fierce, the battlefield shifting between the physical realm and the ethereal plane. In the end, Sandy and Emma emerged victorious, banishing the Order and ensuring the artifact's safekeeping. The delicate balance was restored, and the spirits found solace, their tormented souls finally at peace. As time passed, Sandy and Emma continued their sacred duty, guarding the artifact and maintaining the harmony between the realms. The cemetery, once a place of darkness and uncertainty, transformed into a symbol of resilience and the triumph of light over darkness. Their story became a legend, whispered among the spirits and passed down through generations. Sandy and Emma became known as the saviors of the cemetery, the protectors of the artifact, and the bridge between the living and the dead. And so, as the sun set on the cemetery, its gravestones bathed in the warm hues of twilight, Sandy and Emma stood side by side, their bond unbreakable. They knew that their journey had just begun, and they would face whatever challenges lay ahead together.